The Uganda we want.
So mu Uganda gye twagala mu lutalo luno olw'okulwanyisa obulabbayo obukenuzi nze kyempita obuvundu. Munna Uganda alina okuba nga yeenyigiramu.
Ffenna twenyigire mu lutalo.
Ate abalala tebasomye kuzimba wabula bayize okuzimba.
Uganda gye twagala okulaba ng'enguudo zonna nkole nungi, public transport nga weeri.
Kati eno gavumenti eriwo erina akabonero ka Lucifer. Buli kyotunulako mu Uganda kiriko oxygen. Either babika amawulire malungi oba mawulire mabi. Minisita teyeetaagisa kabangali budde buno zaaki.
At this time, why should somebody import furniture from outside Uganda? Let us leave NRM to be in charge for another 36 years or more.
I really want to see a Uganda that believes in the rule of law. If you have a constitution in place, follow it to the letter. Don't change laws just because you want them to favor you.
Kuba njagala omanye nti obugagga bwonna Uganda bwe yeeyagaliramu buyita waffe ku ttaka lyaffe. Naye busoga mugidibaze.
How can a referral hospital refer you to a private clinic? The Uganda we want buli muntu ateekwa okumanya nti I am a stakeholder nkwatibwako si kwesuulira naggamba.
Uganda oyinza okukakana nga mwe mulina ba graduates aba university nga bangi okusinga ebungereza. Mwe mufokasinga nnyo ku degree. Eri bo bafokasinga nnyo nti byensomye mbijjeemu omulimu n'enkola.
We're dreaming of a Uganda where at a young age there is such a relationship between parent and son, parent and daughter, where the daughter can say, this is what I want.
Uganda gye twagala empya tesobola kubeerawo nga tewali mateeka. Amateeka agakola.
The Uganda we want.
Welcome to the program, The Uganda We Want. My name is Robert Mlanzi, your host. And as I normally tell you in this program, we host people who air out their views on the kind of Uganda that they would like to see. And today we are privileged to host and to discuss the kind of Uganda that you and I envision with the Executive Director for Anti-Corruption Coalition Uganda, Mr. Agaba Maron. He is, of course, a patriotic Ugandan, I believe, and is a senior citizen. But as I know, he is an administrator, and we are going to hear more from him. May you please greet our viewers and our listeners. It's a pleasure for me to have you this
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and greetings to all our viewers and listeners. And I'm glad that you came here to interview me. I'm Maron Agaba. I am the Executive Director of Anti-Corruption Coalition Uganda, and we are so happy. We are so happy to be hosted on this program.
Well, yeah, you just say that you're Mr. Maron Agaba, and someone who is watching and listening to you would like to know more. Who is Mr. Agaba Maron?
Agaba Maron is a Ugandan. He's a Ugandan that has lived in Uganda for most of the time, has studied in Uganda, has worked in Uganda, and is a patriotic Ugandan, because if Uganda has provided me shelter for all these years, most of the time of my life, then I have to love Uganda, really. I have to like Uganda. So I'm a Ugandan, and I love Uganda, and this work we are doing of fighting corruption is actually patriotic work.
Okay.
Because it's not work that you would do if you didn't love your country. It involves in a lot of sacrifices to this kind of work. So we do this work because we love our country.
Okay. From which part in Uganda? Where are you born from?
I was actually born in Kampala. I'm a born of Kampala. Yes, we have grown up here, but I've also lived up country. My parents came from Rukunjiri district in Kigezi sub-region in southwestern Uganda. Yes, but I was born here, and I have lived here for some time. I've also lived in Rukunjiri for some time, and I've also moved by the whole of Uganda. I've been to all corners of Uganda, so I have a good sense and feeling of what takes place across the country. Yes.
Okay, where did you go for your, primary, kindergarten, nursery? When you say you're born of Kampala, you might have gone through a kindergarten or elementary school or primary, secondary.
It's actually a mixture, because for primary, I studied here briefly at Uganda Road Primary School. Briefly, then we relocated to the village in Rukunjiri. So I studied in Rukunjiri. I completed.
What was the cause of the relocation to Rukunjiri?
I mean, the events that happen in life.
Like
the events that that happen in life that can force you to move. For instance, parents can move to the not war as such, because that is in the 90s. The war had already ended. The war had ended, but my father moved from Kampala to the village, so we went with him, because he was our breadwinner and provider. So that's how. Now I finished my primary education in Rukunjiri. And also for secondary, senior 1 up to senior.
Just recall the name of the primary
that
school.
That is Nyakina Primary School.
Yes,
it is my village.
Yeah.
Yes.
They should
that
be
is my
proud
village.
To see you, and hear
I hope so. I hope so.
And is it still there?
Yes, it is, because it's a government school. Okay. It is still there. I haven't been there in a while. I think I should go there. I should go there. I should go there, but the school is still there. Yeah, so I was at Nyakina Primary School from around P4 up to primary 7. Then I went to Chamakanda Secondary School. That is also in Rukunjiri. I studied from senior 1 up to senior 4. Yeah, and then after senior 4, I came back to Kampala. I studied at Kororo SS.
Kororo. That is A-level.
Yes, for A-level. Kororo Secondary School, and that's where I finished my A-level from.
Did you do sciences or arts?
No, I am an artist. I don't think I have any science blood really. I chopped sciences earlier on in my life, so I am an.
Was it because you realized that your career is not in sciences?
No, I could have tried, but there are several circumstances that cause your career trajectory to move the way it moves. Yeah, sometimes maybe the schools you are in, maybe the teachers were not motivating, maybe sometimes it's a family setting, it's not so motivating, maybe the equipments are not there. Actually, now I believe that if I had a good chance, I would have been a scientist. Because
a good doctor.
Yes, I think I would have been. If I had the right environment, but the environment I had anyway enabled me to be what I am, to be mostly taking the arts route. Okay. And I don't have any regrets about that. I think it was God's plan.
So yes. From Kololo High School, then you went to which university?
Yes, from Kololo I got to Makerere University. Okay. I studied Bachelor of Arts with a major in communication. So I majored in communication, Bachelor of Arts for that I did at Makerere University, and I completed, and I later went back still to Makerere for my master's degree in journalism and communication, which I also completed. Yes.
Wow, you're a real media man.
Yes.
I would say. Did you do some work with some media?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't, and of course that is one of my regrets. I didn't. When I finished, I went straight into public relations, because I have worked as an information and communications officer for a good number of years. Before now, I went into program and management. Yes. So my background is mostly into public relations. Okay. Yes.
Someone would like to know what is ACCU, its mandate, vision, mission, and how have you achieved?
Anti-Corruption Coalition Uganda, ACCU, is a non-government organization. It is a citizen-funded and led organization. So basically what we do is that we galvanize the different efforts, organizations, individuals, grassroots CBOs, who are passionate about fighting corruption. So we give them like a coordinating platform where we bring them together to have that united voice. Because in the country where you are, you realize that you cannot fight corruption unilaterally. You need that kind of support. So ACU gives that platform for the different actors. And our mandate basically, or our vision, is that the vision is that we want to see a corruption-free Uganda. And we believe that is possible. It may be in our lifetime or not, but we believe that is possible. But we want to see that happen. And our mission basically is that we want especially to empower citizens to demand for transparency and accountability from government and other actors. Because we realize that corruption is a very big problem affecting our country. When you look at reports, like for instance, there's a report that was done by the Inspectorate of Government that shows that we lose approximately 10 trillion each financial year to corruption. Yes, that is a lot of money we are losing as a country. And also the other reports by Transparency International, like the Corruption Perception Index, that show that we're not doing well. So that's where the passion really comes from. So basically that is it in terms of really our vision and mission. And so in terms of what we do so many things here. We do studies, of course, to inform policies by government and other actors. We empower the citizens with information, because if this war is to be won, the war against corruption, the citizen has to be involved. So we do capacity building for the citizen, and also for the other actors, non-state actors, really the NGOs and other partners that we work with. We try to empower them to really fight corruption. We're not so much into the arrest and prosecution, because that is not our mandate. Our mandate is mainly empowering non-state actors, the citizens, the civil society organizations, to really demand for action to be done.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that, and to know what you're doing here. And you mentioned something that has actually brought me here. That one of your vision is to see that we achieve a corruption-free country. And my question is right there. How can we, as a country, after 60 years of independence, and probably someone might be watching this program even when it is even more than 60 years, how can we achieve a corruption-free country?
I mean, it is a process. It's a process. I won't say that it is impossible. It's possible, but extremely hard. So one thing is that when you look at nations that have fought corruption and have achieved some successes, there has been that commitment from the leadership, all the way from the top. And commitment, I mean, not just a few things here, but total commitment in all spheres and in all circumstances. The leadership has to be committed. That is quite important. So when that happens, it means that the other things will fall into place. We will have systems that actually work. The way we are is that our systems are not working, which is unfortunate. The systems, they're not working, they should be working. You find that, for instance, you have parliament that is supposed to be providing oversight over other arms of government. But these are the same people who are being bribed with. We hear 40 million has been given, we hear 5 million, here 29 million. Such an institution cannot help so much, especially on its oversight. Of course, Parliament has several roles, but oversight is a core role. Yeah. So strengthening our institutions is very important. The other aspect is that even the citizens have to be involved in this fight. They have to be empowered. But unfortunately, we have reached a level where corruption has permeated all sectors of society. And sometimes you wonder, I mean, where is the moral compass of this country? If you want that one place to go to where you feel that it is a center of excellence and integrity, where is that institution in this country? I mean, I don't know of any, really, me personally. So you find that the citizens, corruption has also spread to the citizens. They are actively involved because we interact with them and we get their perspectives. You tell someone that I'm working with anti-corruption, and somebody will tell you, you believe corruption can never go away? No, actually corruption makes doing work easier. When a traffic officer gets you in an offense, you give them 5,000 instead of going to prison or paying 100,000. So that is the kind of mindset that our citizens have. So the citizens have to be involved in this fight.
So we are looking at the commitment
from the leaders. And when that commitment comes from the top, all these other ones, by nature of our systems here, they have to fall into place.
So, okay, yeah, just before we continue, when you talk about commitment from the leaders, what are we actually talking about? What should they commit themselves to?
Commitment, we mean that one, in terms of words and in terms of actions. Because one,
words and actions.
Yes, because when you look at the country, the country Uganda in 60 years has gone through so many challenges, including the ones that we know about recently, challenges of HIV, challenges of Ebola, we had the challenges of COVID. We have gone through those challenges with very, very minimal, okay, I won't call them minimal, but we have tried. But the question is that why are we failing at fighting corruption? If all these other ones were fought.
If COVID comes, we put all our efforts, we fight against it. If Ebola comes, we react so fast. And, you know, HIV, we believe by even 2030,
it might go away.
It might go away.
So why are we fighting to fight corruption? That's the question. I mean, you saw in COVID, you had these lockdowns and then quarantines and what. If we could put that effort on fighting corruption, this corruption, it will no longer even be talking about it. It will cease being a problem. But that commitment is on there.
The government has the IGG's office, anti-corruption, state house, anti-corruption, something. But then you're saying there's no commitment.
I'm coming to that. Because if you have the IGG, and it has that institution has been established to fight corruption, but it is not capacitated in terms of the resources it needs, then how do you expect it to do its mandate? If the IGG comes up and says that I want to do lifestyle audit, and then the president says that go slow on these thieves, because at least they are stealing and investing in the country, what do you do as the IGG? And again, so these institutions really need to be supported because they are not autonomous as it should be. That in countries where really fighting corruption has taken note, that these institutions have been set there, they have been capacitated. But you find you have an IGG, first of all, you're not capacitating them in terms of funds they need. 2, you are undermining their autonomy to do their work. 3, there is a lot of really external influence. The former IGG actually said that thieves in this country are quite powerful. And when you pursue them, in most cases, they usually win. So you find that the system has given refuge to the most corrupt people in this country, and much as the rhetoric, the words.
The corrupt are actually more powerful and stronger than the agencies.
Of course.
They are put, in place to fight.
Yes, yes. There are people really who can't be touched because of the patronage system that we have built. And impunity has also become a problem, that someone thinks they can do something and nothing will happen. And impunity in corruption, you also look at other aspects. Impunity is everywhere. Even on the roads you are driving, there are people who are driving, they want to knock you in your own lane. And nobody will touch them. Even if you report to them, they will not be arrested. If they are arrested in the next minute, they are already out of prison. You see things like land grabbing. Someone comes and grabs land from people who have been there for 60 years without even following processes. I mean, so impunity really has become a problem that some people feel they are quite untouchable. And of course now that when it comes into corruption, it becomes really a real problem. So really, those are some of the challenges that if we can address them. Then also lastly, when it comes to fighting corruption, I've talked about losing 10 trillion annually. When you look at the recoveries, recover around 20 to 25 billion. That money is not even 1% of what is lost. And now you see the motivation of a corrupt person is the gain. They steal because there is a gain. They are involved in corruption because there is that gain. Now, if you don't take away that incentive that makes them to steal, they will continue stealing. Because you see, corruption is a game. It's a game of numbers. It's about someone calculating that if I steal my 5 billion, even if they arrest me, prosecute me, I go to prison for 3-4 years, I come back and enjoy my money. So if you don't take away their motivation, which is the money they have stolen, then you cannot win the war against corruption. And that is an area where we are doing extremely poorly. Yes.
So in other words, you're saying, okay, if we get this corrupt man or woman, we must take away
Definitely.
what what he or she has got,
Yes.
and as well
Yes.
penalize them
Yes.
more heavily. And
Yes.
because I was going to ask, what kind of penalties would you suggest?
I think one, what is most important is to take away the incentive. That is issue number one. If you have stolen public resources, you need to pay back what you have stolen. One. Two, you need to go to jail as a deterrent for others to see. Imprisonment is number two. And then, of course, number three is being barred from holding public office. You cannot allow such a person to remain in public office for at least 10 years to be barred from public office. If we do those three things for the corrupt, then we will really achieve something.
And according to you, do you really think that can be possible?
It is possible if there is the political will I talked about. If there is total commitment, it is really, really possible. Because in other countries, it has really happened. There are countries, for instance, where really if you are to engage in corruption, you have to think twice before you engage in what? In any form of corruption. Because such kinds of deterrencies have been put there. So with the will, that is possible and it can happen. For example, in China, the corrupt are hanged. They are executed in China. In other countries, they are jailed. In other countries, they are even published in the newspapers. So and so from this village has engaged in stealing, and they put you in newspapers. So there are those deterrences that have what? That have been put in place in different countries. So if you had the will, these things can happen.
So I see your point. Now let's go to the mindset of the people against corruption. When we say people need to change their mind or their minds or whatever, or they need to have a mindset change when it comes to corruption, what do we mean, and how can we make that into effect?
Growing up, they used to tell us that corruption wasn't a very big problem in the earlier years, in the 60s, in the 70s. We had people who worked really diligently, with a lot of integrity, and they retired in integrity, in their humble way of life, really. It wasn't such a very big problem. But now we have a mindset, a very, very bad mindset, a kind of consumerism kind of mindset, that you need to possess a lot of wealth. You mean if someone has finished university, you want to do a wedding of 100 million, you want to build a mansion, you want to drive a very big car. And society tends of praise people who have properties,
without knowing we say they have achieved something, even though we don't know where.
Without knowing how such have been acquired. I mean, someone is working in a government agency, is 26, 27, and builds a house worth like 500 million in the village. It's going to be praised. Even when they go in the church, they will be given a front seat rather than you. Why? Because society has now been conditioned really to praise the people who have amassed wealth, really, without knowing how the wealth has been amassed. So that becomes a very big problem. We've also had scenarios of people have been implicated in corruption, and it's their own clansmen and tribesmen and chiefs coming to plead, if our son is our son, when he steals, he eats with us. That kind of mindset. So people know that it's a problem, but that corruption is bad. But they have gone ahead really to praise the corrupt. They have gone again even to get engaged in corruption, because you see, like these political offices, like these MPs, those offices are virtually, they are bought. They pay for them, because there was a study that was done by one of the NGOs that shows that on average an MP, they spend between 500 and 800 million on campaigns.
Wait, we have 529 MPs in Parliament, whom we think and believe were elected by people in their constituency.
They were paid to get elected. In other words, that's what I'm saying. They invest a lot of money. Okay, I'm saying that study says that on average 500 to 800 million an MP spends on an election. That's why you see more some of them lose elections. They go into depression because they have injected a lot of money. So where is that money going? into bribing voters,
Agents.
agents, into all those kind of sorts of things. And so when they get into office, one, the citizens lose authority to question them because they were paid to vote. But also, two, is that they want to recoup the money. Because ask yourself, if a member of parliament, let's say, is earning 25 million per month, how much money will they have made in 5 years? It's around, okay, let's say maybe around 1.2 billion, 1.5 billion. Now, if they already injected around 800 million, how much are they remaining with? So it means now they have to look for extra avenues to
make sure they compensate.
They compensate for what they injected in the what?
In
So
the election.
now it really becomes a problem. Politics has become so commercialized.
And remember, they also have these other people who are calling. Could you help us with this?
Yes.
I lost someone. I have a wedding, and they have to reach out because you know, I'm your MP. I need to reach out to you.
They have fundraisings. They have burials. They have weddings. They have school fees to pay.
I don't know if you have realized this. I'm seeing many of the MPs coming up with what we call foundations.
Yes.
Honorable Mulanzi Foundation. And I don't know how they are sustaining that.
You see, that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem. And the problem is commercialization. Because what the NGOs have been telling government is that we can actually have a law that can limit the amount of money spent on elections. You can say, for instance, for a member of parliament, you're not supposed to exceed 20 million. So I have a budget of 20 million. You know that in that budget I have my agents, I have the money denomination fees, I have an office, public address system. It is clear money, and it even relieves pressure from them. But this is, the MPs haven't been buying into this. I don't know why. Actually, in some countries, really, they have solved that problem. They have put laws that cap the money a candidate can spend on elections. And also you have to explain your sources of funding. Because sometimes you don't know where this money is coming from. Of course, some of them sell their properties, but others could be funded by all sorts of people who have their own interests in government. They can fund them to get into parliament or whatever, and you never know what they use them for. So that is a big problem. And the citizens are equally involved because they demand for their share.
Yeah.
So going back to your question of the mindset change, citizens need to change that kind of mindset where they think. I mean, we need to go back from where we came from, really, where people worked honestly. When I move around the country, I usually meet these retired civil servants, and sometimes we work with them. We find the man is humble, in his home is humble, but they are contented at heart. Actually, if you read the Bible, you know that contentment comes from the heart, and human desires can never be. You find that the people who are stealing actually are not stealing for survival. They're the ones who already have, but they are stealing more.
What makes someone who you have a very good post, a very fertile post, a very fertile position in government, and again, we find you in corruption?
There are two things. One is greed.
Greed or
mururu. It's just greed.
Wadalina ekifo kino naye
ayina omululu.
Omululu.
Yes. Not getting contented with what you have. He has, but they want to steal more. And issue number two is competition, really, further competition. So and so is working where, has built ABC and D, has 4 apartments. Me, I have 2. I need 1 for. That's kind of bogus.
I need to be above him or her.
Kind of competition. So basically, it is greed and that kind of competition, really, that you want to accumulate. You are competing among peers to see who can amass more. It is really about that.
Let's talk about the do, like to the citizen, because when you say we need to change our mindset, in changing our mindset, I'm looking at what should we do and what shouldn't we do.
Citizens, of course, have a responsibility, even in the Constitution, in terms of fighting corruption. One is that they have to, first of all, not to be corrupt themselves, not to engage in any form of corruption. Because you see, if you are to demand for transparency and accountability from other agents, you've
got to be transparent.
You yourself. Yes. So citizens, I think they need to, first of all, not be involved in these vices, but two, they have that mandate to demand for services, to demand for transparency, to demand for accountability from their leaders. It is their constitutional mandate in the Constitution. Article 1 gives them power, but also under duties of the citizens that they have that mandate. But also, you know that leaders hold public offices in trust. They are there in trust of the citizens. Citizens have put them there. So citizens have the power really to demand from their leaders for services.
Yeah, so citizens are not demanding for transparency, probably. I want to quote you right. Probably because they are as well not as transparent as, you know, the people they demand transparency from.
One, because they have been compromised in a way.
They're compromised, yeah.
Like I tell you that during elections, for instance, you're given something to vote.
Yeah.
I mean, they already paid you.
Can you imagine 2,000,
Yes.
1,000?
Yes, waraji.
Give them waraji.
A bowl of soap, a quarter of sugar, a quarter of half kilo of sugar, and then you said your first. So you said your right to demand. But issue two, some of them are not yet sensitized and empowered. Actually, when you go into communities where citizens have been empowered to demand, they actually demand for those services. So some of them just need to be empowered to demand.
Yeah. Talk about the empowerment and the sensitization. Who should do that?
Well, of course, government should be doing that because it is its mandate. But in the event that the government has so many responsibilities, then NGOs, then we have the religious leaders, we have the cultural leaders, we have the media. The media is very important. All these actors should be doing this work of educating the citizens on their responsibilities.
So if we, the media, if the church leaders and institutions and the government, if they have been failing to do this, why? What is the cause?
Now you see,
because yeah, go ahead.
We operate in the church leaders and the media. They don't operate on Mars or on the moon. They operate in a context. And that context is Uganda. And Uganda is extremely corrupt. So you are in there. You get it. So you find that even these institutions we expect to do a noble cause, they have been affected by corruption. They are involved in corruption. They have been permitted by corruption. And you have had so many cases, even in our religious and cultural institutions, being corrupted. I mean, you see them, religious leaders fleecing people of their money and disappearing with money, coming up with all sorts of schemes and what, and complete zero accountability for some of them for the resources they get. Some of them just sheer stealing of resources. So the problem has permeated everywhere. The problem has gone in all sectors. Like I told you that you look for a center of integrity in this country and you can't find it. So the problem has gone everywhere. Now, to address that kind of problem, really, it requires what we usually call like a cultural shift. Because now where we have reached what we can call the culturalization of corruption.
Culturalization of corruption.
Corruption has become part of our culture.
It's like a dress code.
Yes. It has become part of our culture. I mean, everybody, what is my take? What is my cut? What is my percentage? So it has become like a normal thing. Now to change that, the thinking has to change completely.
Yeah.
And of course, we don't know whether with this kind of generation that is possible. Maybe with the young people, we can train them to say no. But also, if we train the young people, but they go up in the same environment, that is extremely corrupt, they don't want to work.
Okay.
So that's where the issue of leadership
comes
very
in.
Important.
Okay, we are going to come back in our second episode and you talk more on the culturalization of corruption and the leadership. How bad is corruption to our country? And of course you will share with us the other Uganda that you would like to see away from, a corrupt free country. Thank you so much, Mr. Agaba Maron, for sharing with us the kind of Uganda that you want to see in line with corruption. Well, let me come back to you, my fellow Ugandans. And in line with what he has said, you as a Ugandan, how are you going to respond to ensure that we achieve the kind of Uganda that we want? My name is Mulanzi Robert.